Hello everyone again. This time it's my top 5 movies of 2017. So let's start out with a controversial one. Number 5. I actually really liked Star Wars The Last Jedi. I know that's not popular opinion, and it's one of those movies that a lot of critics really liked it, and I tend to go the extreme opposite of the critics, but I actually thought it was good. I thought it had a lot of stuff that worked really well for it. Now, I'm not a fool. I understand that there are definitely flaws. But weirdly, the flaws y'all point out and say are your reasons are not the things I had problems with. So, one of the big things that always comes up is the casino planet, and that being the big flaw. And it was long, yeah, and it turned out to be pointless, but at the time we didn't know it was pointless. Yeah, it should have been trimmed a little bit. It could have used a little bit of trimming. You could have cut out some stuff, but it still had some merit to it and some stuff that worked. Another thing that's always brought up is the lieutenant that took over Leia and why she didn't tell them that the plan was to escape long enough so they can get to this planet that would be able to protect them. And it's to me, that's one of those ones where it's yeah, but all you have to do is think it through and you can easily go, that would be a good reason. So they just got tracked through hyperspace by the enemy. They did not know that the enemy has the ability to track. That's something that Poe and everyone assumes. It's entirely possible that the person in charge thinks differently. It's entirely possible that she thinks that there's a spy in the organization and beamed their information. If you take that as a thinking and as a process, then her not telling anyone other than her trusted advisors what the plan is makes sense. She doesn't want the enemy to know what they're planning. Okay, the Leia flying through space to save herself thing. Yeah, that was screwed up. I'm not even going to deny that was bizarre and really but you could add in the idea that there were a number of years that she and Luke were around. It's entirely possible he taught her some of the Force. For me, I would probably add it in the negative thing, and it's you should have just let her die. That would have been a fine way since the actress passed away. But if the only reason I redeem it, and I'm fine with that and her being in the rest of the movie, is the scene between her and Luke in the cave. That is the best heartfelt scene there is. It's really nice. The things I have problems with, the things that bother me, were a lot of people bring up the porgs on Luke's planet, the little bird-like things. Those don't bother me as much as the fish people do. The fish people there, their entire reason for being there, their entire existence, other than just say, hey, Luke isn't alone, there are other people on this island, is just to give Rey dirty looks when she breaks things. That's their entire existence in the movie, is just to go at Rey. And it's why are they... You could have cut these guys out. They could have trimmed them out and it wouldn't have bothered at all. My other problem is they used hyperspace as a weapon at a certain point in this movie. I'm not 100% no on that. That's fine. My thing is, why in the world did neither of the other two ship captains try that? All they did was let their ships explode. If the main person had enough time to turn around and do that, and there was the argument that the enemy ships were distracted and were not focused on the big ship, and because it was bigger, it was able to do more damage. Okay, but that's still one of those little things that bothered me about it. But overall, it's I thought it was a really good story. Everyone was expecting Empire Strikes Back, and I was really hoping they wouldn't do that. And they didn't. And it's got its own stuff to it. It's not as fleshed out as we would all like it to be, but it has elements that worked really well. It has good story moments, good surprises. I'm just gonna say flat out, it's not. Is it better than the original trilogy? Of course not. it never had the chance to be. The same way Force Awakens never had the chance to be. The big problem everyone had with The Force Awakens is that they followed too much to, New Hope. And they were like, you need to do something different. And then when you go out and do something different, everyone complains that it's too different and it's breaking with the lore. It was a chance. They took a risk. Honestly, they should have edited the video a little better. The movie could have been trimmed. But overall, I thought it was pretty good. It was a lot of fun. Let's move on. Number 4. Go, go, Power Rangers. Honestly, I am super sad that this movie didn't do well and is probably not going to get a sequel because this movie was awesome. I don't know. Like, I acknowledge the fact that the first trailers, when they were god-awful, when they only were showing, like, the first few minutes, and it was all dark and gloomy and all that, it was like, oh. But, and again, this is not another movie that's flawless. This movie has 1 or 2 flaws, but here's the thing. Most of the movies this year had a lot of flaws. Like, the worst thing in the entire movie, in the original, the worst thing is they have product placement, and they have a really bad Krispy Kreme product placement that's really blatant. But if you can get over that, it has really good characters. It has a really interesting story. It takes the mythos and the idea of Power Rangers as it exists and expands upon it. It gets really good character interactions. I love all of the actors that did these parts. And if you saw my last video and you heard me talking about a poor female villain that was Charlize Theron in Fate of the Furious, and then you get Rita Repulsa in Power Rangers, and she is such a good, powerful, imposing villain. And yeah, it worked. She was a legit threat because she legit killed someone and killed a bunch of people, and it works. And it's Power Rangers, it's not Batman v Superman or Man of Steel where we're trying to shove Superman into the darkness. No, it's just taking something that was very childish and giving it a little maturity. It's turning a kid's show into a teenager show. And that's good because, who are the main characters and the people we're supposed to associate a bit with Power Rangers? Teenagers! So, yeah, I remember recommending this to someone, and I was so happy that they liked it because after I recommended it, I heard a lot of backlash about it. And it's really sad because it's a movie that had very little potential. Not a lot of people had faith in it. Not a lot of people thought it was going to be great. But it was fun and action-packed and adventurous and just worth a watch at least, guys. I recommend it. It's very good, but a lot of fun. It's not like the last Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles where they over CGI this. It's very much about the actors and about the performance and about growing as characters. Highly recommend it. Moving on to number 3. Was Wonder Woman a surprise? Yes, but not for the reasons that some people make it out to be. Wonder Woman was not a surprise because it was a successful female-led superhero film. That's not the reason it was a surprise. I always thought that was a BS answer. That's just something that Hollywood likes to say because there are a bunch of white men trying to produce white movies, and I did not think that the reason that the previous female-led superhero movies bombed was because they were female-led superhero movies. They bombed because they sucked. They were bad concepts, things that never had the chance to really ever be good. If you look into Supergirl went through production hell, which is why it's such a garbage film. Same with Catwoman, And there's some where it's like, there was no way Barbed Wire was ever going to be good. There was no way Tank Girl was going to be amazing. Tank Girl is a lot of fun, but it's a dumb concept that was never going to be that good. Anyway, my thing with Wonder Woman, the reason I wasn't certain it was going to be good, is because it was part of the current DC universe. And let's see, that's Man of Steel, which I hated. That's Batman v Superman, which I definitely did not like. I liked Suicide Squad, but it had a lot of flaws. I did not have high hopes for Wonder Woman because it's the same people, the same studio. And what you got was this fun, action-filled movie with good characters, good story, heart-rendering, had good light moments, had good dark moments. It had a battle in the sunlight, for goodness sake. When was the last DC movie that we had a fight in daylight? I can't even, like, the original Superman movies. It's been a while, and it's nice to see that. I honestly almost would have made this my #1 film. This one only isn't in the top 2 spots because of two things. One is that the movie is long. It's almost 3 hours, and for a first out solo superhero movie, that's really long, and it doesn't feel like it, but there are moments where it kind of does, and that's not a huge negative. It's just it's always been a factor in my mind about it for some reason. And the other thing is the final fight, because we had fights in the light and had all this good action, and then you did a fight in the dark using CGI magic, and yeah. But honestly, that fight doesn't bother me as much as it does other people. It has its flaws, but you can still see what's going on. There's still heart to it. There's still impact. It plays well. The characters are relevant. The story is good. Definitely one of my favorite films of the year, and I'm super happy about it. Alright, so for #2. Yeah, I had a tie. I was really split on this, and I almost dropped Star Wars out of this to have these, and I'm like, but I couldn't place these. Now, hear me out on Cars 3, because I don't know how many of you went to see it, or how many of you have good opinions on it, this, that, and the other. I love the original Cars movie. It's still in my top 5 Pixar films of all time. I love the world building, I love the characters, I love the story and how it builds this universe, and is sweet and has charming moments. Both Cars 3 and Coco are, like, tied for #6 on my top, like, of my Pixar favorites. And they are trying very, very hard to knock out the bottom one. Okay, I'm talking about Cars 2. Cars 2 sucked. Cars 2 is definitely, like, it's the second worst Pixar film of all time. The worst is still Monsters University. But Cars 2 had, story was all over the place. It was just a bad concept and a bad idea. It was just a bad marketing ploy. It didn't have the heart. It didn't have anything. The only thing I like about Cars 2, really, is there's a scene where they're going through the airport, and one of the cars took off his tires and was trying to walk through the security scanner, and it went off, and he went, "Come on!" and squeeched his way back. That's my favorite thing in Cars 2. Other than that, I don't like that movie very much. Cars 3 is what Cars 2 should have been. It is a movie tied to the first characters. It is focused on the proper lead, not the goofy sidekick, which they cut out almost entirely of the film. So if you don't like Mater, he's barely in it. You can get over it. But it's focused on the racing, and it's focused on Lightning becoming Doc Hudson from the first film. He was the top of his game, and now there's a newer, younger crowd, and they're faster than him, and he has a horrible crash, and he has to, after coming repair, has to retrain himself to get back into that, and he's terrified, and gets a new person who's supposed to help train him, Cruz Rodriguez. So, and she's supposed to help training him, but in training, they end up training each other, and it's really tied into Americana and growing old and the changing of dreams. It's like Lightning goes into this trying desperately to hold on to his old dream of being a racer and being the best and being this way, and he ends up like going to some of the places that Doc would train, and he ends up being trained by the people who trained Doc, and he's coming to this thing where he's like, I don't want to end up like Doc did. He went back and they didn't want him, and he felt broken, and his life was horrible forever on. And the guy training him was like, "They're kidding, right?" It's like, he was that way for a while, and then he met you, and training you was the best thing in his life. He was so proud of you and so proud of the things you did, and his dream changed, and it changed for the better. It allowed him to find happiness off of the course, and it's a really good message, and it's really clear from the very first training day with Cruz that it is him training his replacement to a certain extent. But it's so well written and so well told, and it's a beautifully animated film. It's like there's so much of it that look real and just like, but reality at its prettiest and its best. And yeah, I love it. It's so pretty. It's so nice. And then we get to Coco, and I did not have high hopes for Coco. Coco reminded me first of an animated movie called The Book of Life, because it's pretty similar. It's set in the same culture. It's about a living person who ends up in the realm of the dead and has to get his family to help him so he can get back to the living world. That's Coco. That's Coco's plot, basically, right there. Plus, it reminded me a lot of Good Dinosaur and Monsters University, and these ones that weren't bad, because there's not a bad Pixar film. The worst Pixar film, Monsters University, is still a 3 out of 5. You know, there's not really a bad. It's just not amazing. And I did not have high hopes for Coco in that sense. I knew I was going to see it, and I knew it was going to be at least good. But man, just beautiful imagery, beautiful storytelling, and while it's similar in certain parts, like Book of Life is a story that works despite its limitations, despite the choices that it makes. Coco's takes a basic concept, takes that similar kind of concept, and pushes it beyond fathomable realms. It is just beautifully told, and the idea of this young kid wanting to be a musician and his entire family not wanting him to, and I could not praise this movie more. It's beautifully told. This music is amazing. I love the music in this. The storytelling is great. The person who turns out to be the villain is clearly the villain. It's not really hard to see him becoming the villain. And I also knew that the person who was helping him would turn out to be who he is. But it's so well told and so expertly crafted and drawn and made that it's a film that I literally, all I have to do is think about it, and it warms my heart. It makes me feel happy and whole, and I'm so happy that I saw it, and I'm so happy it exists. And it's a movie that sadly got less people seeing it because of the Frozen short before it. Which, the Frozen short was fine. And I'm someone who doesn't particularly like Frozen. I actually thought that was, like, this had been Frozen 2, if that had been Frozen 2, I'd been fine with it. And it's one of those things of, like, people did not like it. I have to sit through that. I'm like, then go stand and sit in the lobby for 15 minutes. 20 minutes, the 30 minutes, whatever the length of this short was. If you don't like it, you don't have to sit there and watch it. You can always leave a theater, and you can always go back if you just don't want to see a certain part. So, yeah, the Frozen thing did not bother me at all. I still thought the movie was amazing and brilliantly done. So, before number 1, let's talk about some honorable mentions. John Wick 2. John Wick 2 was a great follow-up to the first one. John Wick 1 was a sleeper hit that no one expected to be good, but it was so action-packed and so well directed and so well told that it took Keanu Reeves at his least emotive, where he's just kind of sitting there staring for good portions of the movie, and gives him so much more depth and character than he has ever had as an actor, and that's amazing. And this is just the perfect follow-up to it. It's got good characters, good story, well written. I'm going to have to praise Justice League here. And I know a lot of people did not see Justice League I sadly, I understand. And I'm not going to say like Justice League is amazing, but Justice League is honestly is my number, is right below Star Wars The Last Jedi for me. It fought really hard to be in it. When it came down to it, I'm like, we had 2 really good DC movies. and it's like I had to figure out which works and what's like and which is worse. Is Wonder Woman, which is almost is beautiful and almost perfect, except for this one flaw at that being the final act. Is that the best, or is Justice League, which has a bunch of little flaws throughout, but overall makes a fun, action-packed movie, which is the better? And it's like, well, Wonder Woman. I clearly picked one. And it's like, it's just there are too many little problems with Justice League to point out. But it's got an amazing cast. This is the Ben Affleck as Batman is amazing in this. Wonder Woman's amazing in this. I really love Flash and Cyborg, and this is really good. Aquaman has some great moments in it. I wish they could have done a little more with him. This is the Superman I've wanted out of Henry Cavill. This was a Superman who actually saved people. Maybe he did rescue a building, but that building could have been empty. But it's really sad when the Flash, as one part of a movie, saved more people than Superman did in Man of Steel, or Batman v Superman for that matter. The story is a little convoluted, a little, especially because they have Steppenwolf and they do almost nothing with him. He's very barely there, but yeah, it's good storytelling. It's good effects. It's not entirely in the dark. There's some of the weird little things in it, but like I said, there are minor flaws throughout it. But overall, I think it's a solid, fun film, and that's the thing I wanted from DC. I want a film that's action-packed and fun. And I'm really sad that because this one was so poorly received, that we aren't going to get certain ones that we should have. Like Justice League 2 has been taken off the schedule and things of that nature. And that's sad, because it's got a lot of stuff working for it. I have to give mad praise for my next. I have to give mad praise to all 3 of the Marvel movies that came out this year. Guardians of the Galaxy 2 is sadly somewhat forgettable. I keep forgetting I even saw it, but it has such great characters to it, good jokes, good villain and Ego the Living Planet, and good characterization. And there's a video out there by I only know her as the Nostalgia Chick. She did a really good breakdown of the idea of father figures and everything related to Guardians of the Galaxy 2, and it is really, that video I highly recommend. Made me love Guardians of the Galaxy 2 even more than I already did. It's just beautifully done. Spider-Man Homecoming was a lot of fun, good action, good characterization. The best Spider-Man movie since Spider-Man 2. And, I know some people put it as their number 1 Spider-Man film. I still have to give it to the original Spider-Man 1 and Spider-Man 2 as being better, but I can definitely see the argument for it. It is really good action, really fun paced, really well told. And we got Thor Ragnarok there on the end, and Thor Ragnarok was a lot of fun and had good energy, and it was definitely easily the best of the Thor movies. Had good characters, good story, good world building, and just well written, well done. My only flaw with Thor Ragnarok was you could tell that they were joking, or they were trying to make jokes, and that dragged it down for me. So it's like one of those things, I actually put Justice League above Thor Ragnarok just because Thor Ragnarok was trying too hard. But other than that, I really liked it. I thought it was really good. This one probably been my number 1 if I hadn't said only movies that were released in theaters. And I have to talk about this because this is such a long time coming, and it needed to be made, and I'm so happy it got made. And that was Hey Arnold, the Jungle movie. Yeah, this is a movie that's been promised to us for over a decade, and we've been fighting for it, and I never expected to get it. And I signed the petition to have it be made. I still never thought we were going to get it made. And I'm really sad that they didn't do anything to really promote it, because, again, decade-long thing, and only knew about it because I was already on the Save the Jungle movie fan club, because I wanted it to exist. and it was coming out, and it was coming out straight to Nickelodeon on New Year's Eve or Thanksgiving, and I was, my heart was like, if it was bad, my heart was gonna just stop. And we got a very good send up to Hey Arnold. It has all of the heart. It has the right characters, the right portrayal. It gives you some great moments in it. There's just parts of this that are just such good send ups to the fans, to the characters, and to the story, and that we get to see Arnold actually go on this mission to go and try to save his parents, even though he tries not to at the beginning. He's like, "I'm gonna do as my grandfather acts. We'll do this trip, and I'll stay out of it." And getting forced and dragged along into this, uh, like my favorite thing about Hey Arnold forever will be Helga. Helga's the best thing. Moments in this are Helga's moments, where it's like she has the point where she tells Arnold that she likes him and she needs him to say something, and he runs away, and she goes to the back of the boat and she rips up the picture and throws the picture into the water. And you see Brainy, who's in the back there beside her, and he dives into the water and saves the picture, and it makes my heart light. And you get to the end when she has to reveal the locket, and she's like, "We need a golden item in the shape of a heart to unlock this." And she's like, "Well, I have this. It's gold painted. It's not actually gold. It's not that pure." And Arnold just holds her hand and is like, "I think your heart is purer than you can even imagine." That, oh man, that's so good. I am so happy to live in a world where the Jungle Movie exists. And is there flaws? Yeah, there's a couple moments where it gets a little too cartoony, and there's definitely some really bad 3D CGI added in, and you lose a little bit in the coloring thing. But I don't care. I've waited a decade for it. I am so happy to have the Jungle Movie. Okay, so number one, Logan. Logan. There's like, I could argue this is probably the most flawless movie of the year. It is so well told and so beautifully handled and made, and it is a movie that works best because it is so far down the line of the X-Men series. We have followed Hugh Jackman as Wolverine since 2000. We've followed him through 8 movies, 3 solo movies. I'm probably off in the numbers, but yeah. And this is the ultimate send up to the character. I was a little worried it would get too violent because this is the first R-rated, and like when people tend to do R-rated, they tend to go over the top. But no, this is just the natural progression. This is just, I'm too old and I'm too tired, and I'm just going to kill you as fast as I can. And it works, and it's so well acted. It's honestly, like, Hugh Jackman deserves a nomination for this. Patrick Stewart deserves. I would argue Patrick Stewart should get best supporting actor for this. He is so good in this. He's so well acted. The villains are good. I am a little sad that they just chose to use a Hugh Jackman clone, but it is the idea of the younger you killing the older you. But then, yeah, it is such a beautifully put film, and it's one of those films that you can take it out of the context of a superhero film. You can just look at it you can look at it as a western, you can look at it as a drama, you can look at it as an action movie. It has all of these elements that work so well for it, and is just a nearly flawless, perfect film, and the ultimate love letter to every fan of the Wolverine. Is the ultimate culmination of years of fandom, and it is by far for me the best film of 2017, and it had some good competition. So that's my list for top 5 of 2017. What were everyone's thoughts on it? Do you disagree with me? I'm pretty sure some of you do. Let me know in the comments if you want me to explain why I liked Power Rangers and Star Wars and Justice League. Let me know. I will talk about it more. I don't have a problem. Other than that, till next time.